Imagine your electric car just sitting there in your garage. Now, what if, instead of just sitting there, it was, well, quietly powering your house during a blackout? Or even earning you a little cash by selling power back to the grid? It sounds kind of like sci-fi, right? But this technology, called bidirectional charging, is very, very real. So let's dive into how it all works. And this right here is the big question. It's what everyone really wants to know. We've all heard the buzz about turning your EV into a mobile power plant. So in this explainer, we're going to cut through all that hype and figure out what's really going on. What's the promise? And more importantly, what's the actual payoff? So the whole promise here, the big idea, is pretty tempting. The thought that your car, an asset you use to get around, could also moonlight as an electric ATM, helping to chip away at its own cost. The goal is to turn all that downtime into earning time. And look, this is where the real opportunity lies. Think about it. The average car is just parked for the vast majority of its life. We're talking 90 to 95% of the time. Bidirectional charging wants to take all that idle time and turn it from a liability into a flexible energy resource that's good for you and good for the grid. Okay, so how does this magic actually happen? Well, it all boils down to a few key technologies, and they're often buried under some pretty confusing acronyms. So let's break them down, starting with the simplest one and working our way up. First up, we've got V2L, or vehicle to load. This is the most basic and honestly the most common form you'll see right now. The best way to think about it is like having a massive rolling power bank. You can literally plug your power tools, your laptop, hey, even a coffee maker right into your car. It's all about having power on the go. All right, taking it up a notch, we have V2H, vehicle to home. Now, this is a real game changer for anyone worried about power outages. With a compatible setup, your EV can actually power the essential stuff in your house. Your lights, the fridge, your Wi-Fi, for a day, maybe even more. It's a quiet, totally emission-free alternative to one of those loud, smelly gas generators. And then we get to the final level, V2G, or vehicle to grid. This is where your car actively starts helping the entire power grid. So during a heat wave, when everyone's blasting their AC, your car can send a tiny bit of power back to the grid to help prevent blackouts. And, of course, you get paid for providing that service. This is basically how it all fits together. Your car, along with hundreds or thousands of others, can join a network to create what's called a virtual power plant. Then a company, known as an aggregator, manages this whole pool of cars, selling their combined energy to the grid when it's needed the most. Okay, this all sounds amazing, right? But you knew there was going to be a but. There's definitely a catch. Turning your car into a power source isn't free. There's a pretty significant entry fee you got to know about, both in terms of the hardware and just general compatibility. You basically need three things to line up perfectly for this to work. First, you need an EV that's actually compatible. Second, you need a special bidirectional charger. Your standard one just won't cut it. And third, you need an energy contract with a utility company that actually supports this kind of program. And right now, that compatibility is, well, it's still a bit of an exclusive club. The main players leading the charge are trucks like the Ford F-150 Lightning, several cars from Hyundai and Kia, the VW ID.4, and of course the Nissan Leaf, which was actually one of the pioneers in this whole space. And here it is, the big one. The cost of the hardware. A bidirectional charger can cost you anywhere from $3,000 to $8,000. We're talking thousands more than a regular level 2 charger. And honestly, this initial price tag is probably the single biggest hurdle for most people right now. Okay, so let's say you've shelled out the cash for the gear. Now for the most important question of all. What's the actual payoff? After you invest in the car and the expensive charger, how much money can you realistically expect to make back every year? Well, the numbers from early pilot programs show that the benefits are real, but let's just say you're not going to get rich. If you just use your car's battery to avoid high electricity prices during peak hours, you might net somewhere between $80 and $250 a year. If you're in a full-blown V2G program actively selling power, that could go up to between $250 and $650 a year. And this quote really just nails it. It's not a magic passive income stream that's going to make your car payment vanish. It's much better to think of it as a kind of loyalty bonus, a way to partially pay down the cost of owning the car over time. It makes an EV cheaper to run, sure, but it doesn't make it free. All right, now we have to talk about the elephant in the room. The number one fear every single EV owner has is all this charging and discharging gonna absolutely destroy my very, very expensive battery? What's really interesting is that the research shows V2G is surprisingly gentle on the battery. The process uses these little low-stress microcycles, which are way less damaging than the high-power, deep cycles you get from, say, flooring it on the highway. Now, look, if you were just hammering your battery with V2G aggressively every single day, could it speed up wear and tear? Yeah, some studies suggest it could. But, and this is a huge but, any official program that's backed by your carmaker or utility company will have safety limits baked right in to protect your battery. And using those certified systems is almost always required to keep your warranty intact. Okay, let's put all these pieces together. We've looked at the incredible promise, the tech, the costs, the payoff, and the fine print. So where does that leave us? What's the final verdict here? The bottom line is this. Bidirectional charging is absolutely real, but it's not a magic money machine. Its real value, at least for today, is as this incredible tool for keeping your lights on during a blackout, with the nice little bonus of chipping away at your total cost of ownership over time. So, with all that in mind, if you are actually out there shopping for a new electric vehicle today, and this technology sounds interesting to you, there is one crucial, kind of technical thing you really need to know about. And this is it. This is the key. ISO 15118-20. I know it sounds like a robot's name, but think of it as the universal language that lets a car, a charger, and the grid all talk to each other to make V2G happen. If a car doesn't support this standard, it simply won't be able to play in this space in the future. So when you're shopping, that's the single most important question to ask. So that's the reality of bidirectional charging today. It's not just about saving a few $100s a year. It's about fundamentally changing how we think about our cars, our homes, and the power grid itself. Thanks for joining us for this explainer. The next time you see a parked EV, you might just be looking at a power plant in waiting.